So good morning, day 3, 7 minutes of meditation today. We'll start today with alternate nostril breathing. So with this one, we close one of the nostrils, and this is optional. You don't have to do this. Usually we would close the right nostril and leave the left open, and then we would breathe out of the left and back in through the left. And then we switch. So then we close the left and open the right, and we breathe out and back in through the right. And then we would switch again and breathe out of the left and in through the left. And then we just keep switching in this way. You switch after every inhale. So after you've inhaled, then you switch, close the open, open the closed. If at any point you feel uncomfortable doing this, you don't have to do it at all. This is entirely optional. And usually with these, this is what's known as a pranayama, a yogic breathing technique. Usually with these, unless it's instructed otherwise, you'd have the eyes closed. And you could decide a length of time you'd do this for, maybe 5 minutes. If you've never done it before, 5 minutes. If you've practiced something like this before, 10 minutes. And so this helps settle, calm the mind. There's a couple of ways of looking at this. The yogic way, the more esoteric way, is they say in yoga and most Eastern practices, we have masculine and feminine energy in the body. And in yoga, they say this masculine and feminine energy is carried in 2 main channels of energy. Nadis, they call them, N-A-D-I, nadi. And these 2 channels run along the spine. And they start at the base of the spine and they intersect. And where they cross, if you know the chakras, everywhere they cross, there's a chakra point. So they have their crossing points. And then they say they terminate, these masculine and feminine nadis, channels, they terminate in the nostrils. So what you are doing is we're balancing, we're taking energy through one side of the body. So when you breathe through your right nostril, you're taking in, energizing the masculine energy. And then as you switch nostrils, you're blending that right side energy, that masculine energy, and you're sharing it with the left side, the feminine side. And then you do the same. You energize the incoming air, the prana, they say, the vital force. Energize takes on a feminine quality. And then we share that with the masculine nostril. And this balancing is like the yin yang symbol, if you've seen it. We're harmonizing our masculine, our feminine sides, or we could say our rational linear thinking and our abstract emotional side. And if you look at this as a Western scientific perspective, then we're balancing the hemispheres of the brain. If we hooked ourselves up to an EEG now and an electroencephalograph, we would see the two hemispheres of the brain starting to balance. One of them was dominant initially. We all tend to have a dominant side, a left side dominant or right side dominant. And as we breathe like this is called alternate nostril breathing. As we breathe in this way, we balance out the hemispheres. And they start to talk to each other more. There's a piece in the middle between the brain called the corpus callosum. And as we balance out the hemispheres, then the two hemispheres communicate more. So we're able to think, if you like, in stereo. We can think with our rational side and our emotional side, or the side that's linear and very focused, and the side that's more holistic. So we can see the big picture and the details at the same time. So we usually finish with a breath out of the left nostril. So you can, next time you find you've come round, and you breathe out of the left nostril, and just set your hands somewhere where they're going to be comfortable, and it will allow your shoulders to be relaxed wherever your hands need to be. So alternate nostril breathing is, as I say, it's optional, but it's quite nice if you have a few minutes or you want to invest a little more time into a meditation practice. You'll see it's easier to slip into your meditation if you have those extra minutes to invest. So then we come through our body scan. Body scan, I'd say, it's not really optional. If you really don't have time, then that's okay. Then you just do the repetition of the mantra. But body scan, I would say, you wanna reserve a little bit of time for that. So we direct our attention into the feet and the toes. And we're looking for areas of tension, if that's not too many tensions and intentions. We're looking for areas that might be a bit tight, areas we could release, we could open up. And we do that through the ankles as well. And through the calves and the shins. And through the knees. And through the thighs. Feel through the entire thighs, releasing, relaxing, opening. And then into the buttocks and the hip joints. So where those big bones of the thighs terminate in the pelvis, feel into those hip joints, into the buttocks, into the pelvic floor. Remember, the pelvic floor runs from the pubic bone, so we might focus on the pubic bone as well, releasing any tension in this area. And then trace our awareness under the underside of the torso, down to the perineum, back towards the tailbone, releasing any tension you find on the way. The lower back then, releasing, opening, more freedom being created there. And then the whole of the pelvis. So you have your pelvic girdle, that big bone of the pelvis, housing the lowest abdominal organs. So the whole of the pelvic region, looking for any areas of tension, looking to let go a bit more. And then into the lower abdomen, below the belly button. And the low back as well, the lower back. And then the region around the belly button. And the same area in the rear, in the back of the body. And the upper abdomen. So above your belly button, below the rib cage. You might include the diaphragm here. If you can feel into the diaphragm, that big dome-shaped muscle that sits at the base of your rib cage, if you can feel into that zone, or you want to start to increase your sensitivity of that area, you'd focus in there as well. And then the lower rib cage. Not the chest, but the lower rib cage. In the front, in the rear. Maybe notice the rib cage expanding as you're breathing. Maybe noticing your side ribs, and see if you can encourage those to expand out to the side a little more. And then the upper rib cage, the chest, the upper back in the region of the shoulder blades, the collarbones, the tops of the shoulders, the armpits, the shoulder joints. Again, you might feel, take awareness of, encourage expansion in the upper rib cage. And then awareness down your arms. So if it's easier to take one arm than the other, that's fine. Down into the hands and fingers, or allowing your awareness to descend through both arms at the same time. And then come back to your armpits. So trace the awareness back up the arms to the armpits. And let's make sure we felt through the side torso, from the armpits down to the hips, to the tops of the pelvis. And back up to the armpits. And then the shoulder joints and the tops of the shoulders. The neck and the throat. Back of your neck, the spine running up there into the base of the skull. The sides of your neck and the front of the neck, the throat. and the lower jaw, and the tongue, the teeth, the upper jaw, the point where the two jaws meet, the nose, the nostrils, the eye sockets, the eyeballs, the muscles that hold the eyeballs in place, the forehead, particularly the forehead. This can get a little tight from overthinking. The eyebrows while we're here, and the temples on the sides of the head, the whole of the side of the head, both sides, and the ears, and the top of the head, the scalp, and then feel through the body again. So let your awareness wave down through the body, gently scanning, feeling, sensing in. Making sure if there's any tension, you're letting it go to the best of your ability. And then when you're ready, we come to the meditation true. So we take our mantra. We're using the word one, the number one, unless you have a short phrase from a religious or a faith-based practice. And we begin to silently repeat the word one inside, over and over. Remembering to refocus the mind whenever we have a drift of the mind and you recognize that's happened. Just come back to the silent internal repetition. Please remember that that drift is very natural. We take a relaxed attitude when we've drifted, and we simply come back to more silent internal repetition of the word one. Starting our 7 minutes now officially. Okay, well done. That's 7 minutes. Just stay seated for a moment or lying down with the eyes closed. Stay still for a second. And a gentle awareness wave through the body again, connecting briefly to every part of the body. First, physically. See if you're aware of any tension that's now come up into your awareness as you've cleared the screen of your mind. Your body, your emotions, your mind, all of it becomes easier to perceive. So you might now be aware of tension in the body that you weren't aware of before. You might be aware of some emotions that you weren't aware of before. Or you might be aware of the quality of your thinking in a way that you weren't before. So we just give all of that a moment to settle, to integrate, to release. And again, time depends on how much time you have available. You would sit here or lay here or be in this place for as long as it took until you felt very relaxed, very comfortable just sitting. And then optionally, now we've opened the mind and the body and the emotions. At this point, you could plant your seed for some internal experience that you want to have or external experience you want to have. And I'd recommend approaching it again like you have the faith of a mustard seed, as has been said before. You approach it like it's a done deal. The inner emotional experience you want to have, the outer physical experience you want to have, feel how it feels that is done. It's a given. We might have to allow time to play out for it to come into our experience. But feel the certainty of, yeah, that's going to happen, or that has happened. I've set the intention, I've planted the seed, and then you just let nature do the rest. And you simply let go. You can trust, you have faith that that's happened. And then we start to come back. So we pay attention to our surroundings. We start to turn some of that attention outwardly. Listen to the sounds around, smell the aromas in the environment. Feel the sensations under the bottom of wherever you're sitting, or under the body where you might be lying down. Start to deepen the breathing. Maybe as you inhale, your tummy's expanding. Maybe a little movement coming in. Fingers and toes moving. Eyes are probably still closed at this point. Moving into the arms a little more, you might feel a yawn coming on. So you might have a yawn and a stretch. Gently allow the eyes to let the light back in. So, congratulations. We are 1/10 of the way there. That's day 3 done.